So at this point in my journey of healing, what I'm realizing is that the reason that I've come so far is because of my capacity to really just dig and peel back the layers, right, and recognize what's there and everything. There's a lot of discomfort in exploring trauma, like an unbelievable amount of discomfort, depending on who you are as a person, depending on, you know, what it is that you are comfortable with, right? Um, it can be really hard to just sit with stuff from the past, right? Depending on trauma. And again, I'm not here to say this trauma is worse or that trauma is worse. Everyone experiences trauma individually, uniquely. And I just think that that in and of itself is such an interesting um, understanding, right? Um, but where I'm at in life right now, it's very interesting because this is a result of having really peeled back the layers of conditioning, the layers of trauma, the layers of everything that shaped me, um, the belief systems and everything. Um, you really need to be able to sit with everything that's there, and you might think that it's this, but it turns out it was that, right? Like it's actually interesting because I'm not going to explore um, the things that traumatized me, but what I am going to say is that there are things that I've explored in a professional setting that I previously thought were this, but then I learned were that, right? It's like, it's very interesting when you have the ability to explore that stuff. Really, the ability is what I look at, right? Willingness, your capacity to expand beyond your comfort zone and break free from whatever is here. Here's what I look at, and I think that this is very interesting because I've actually watched something where somebody expressed an inability to get angry, and they needed to get angry. They needed to get angry to heal, right? Angry is anger is a very specific emotion, and I feel like it has a very honest. I feel like a lot of people have been kind of like locked inside of a prison, and anger is on the outside of the prison, and they can't reach the anger. Um, but in terms of anger itself, right? I look at that as such a powerful emotion, and I think that for a while. I had a hard time with anger. I had a really hard time with anger. And, I think that even like some people get locked inside of a prison, and the belief system inside of that prison is anger. No, you can't. It doesn't matter what it is, you can't. And then that basically locks you inside of this belief system that you just can't express anger. You can't. That it's a bad emotion. No, no, no. You can't express anger, right? Um, and it's very interesting because usually this is a result of somebody growing up with somebody who experienced absolute shitstorms of disasters in their home, and they experienced anger, and they experienced the expression of anger. It's one thing to yell, right? It's one thing to get into a car and to just be by yourself and to yell. And it's another thing to start punching people in the face, right? Unwarranted, right? I mean, obviously, like no one's just gonna let you punch them in the face, but I'm saying that there are healthy ways to express anger. And what's interesting to me is that anger in and of itself has become like, from what I've experienced and from what I've learned and come to understand, is that anger has become this emotion that it's almost like you have to walk on eggshells around it. No, just understand it. Just understand that if you set a boundary, somebody violates that boundary, it's gonna piss the person off, right? Don't talk to me that way. You talk to that person that way. Okay? It's that simple. It really is that simple. Boundaries are what create the self. Boundarylessness is what voids the self. Boundarylessness is what leads to unhappiness. It's what leads to disrespect. It's what leads to a lack of a sense of self, right? This is this person, and these are the boundaries of this person. If you don't have that, you really don't have a self. And if you don't have a self, you're not going to know what to do with your life or with, you. It's really that simple. I've seen at least one person that I feel like has been locked. I didn't know them personally. It was just something that I saw on the TV, but just seemed like the person was locked inside of this idea that they couldn't express. They couldn't get angry, right? And what I've learned is that depression is the other side of anger. So it's like you don't get angry, you're going to get depressed, right? You have boundaries, or you're capable of having them. You're capable of setting them. So it's important to be there. It's important to really be with that and understand that. It's really interesting to sit with anger. It's really interesting to express anger. It's really interesting to be taught that healthy anger is unacceptable. Ooh. Yeah, you really want to teach someone to live a very strange and just dysfunctional and all over the place life. Yeah, teach them that healthy anger is unacceptable. That'll mess them up. I mean, at that point, you're probably also teaching them that they don't have boundaries. You're probably teaching them codependency. You're probably teaching them that people don't like you, so you need to do whatever you can to get them to like you. There's a lot there. Yeah, trauma is very interesting. Trauma, it teaches you the opposite of what you need to learn. But I guess that's necessary. Wow, that's a very interesting way to put it. It teaches you the opposite of what you need to learn. I don't even know if that's true. I just said that. I would argue instead it teaches you what you need to know, I guess, to do the opposite of moving forward. It's a very interesting experience, and just sitting with the feelings of trauma, sitting with the feelings of, but that's like that in and of itself. That reaction is like not even close to, the reality of just staring out the window into a void of disconnection, of black hole, right? That goes nowhere but everywhere at the same time. A space of emptiness, a space of absolute self-loathing. Like I'm very interested in how much shame has shaped our culture. The amount of people that are shame-based, the amount of people that have been taught that they are shame, that they are inherently shame. It's wild. There's a lot of stuff here, and it's very interesting to explore. But, yeah.